The Governance Advisory Council of the All Progressives Congress in Lagos State has approved a second term in office for Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. By this proposal and approval, the coast is now clear for Sanwo-Olu to seek re-election on the platform of APC in the 2023 general elections. The APC governorship primaries will be holding on the 27th of May. Joining us now to speak on Governor Sanwo-Olu's second term endorsement by Lagos APC's Governance Advisory Council, in addition to geopolitical permutations around the Southwest bid for the party's presidential ticket, including its primaries, is a former chairman of the Amuwo Odofin Local Government Council in Lagos State. Ayo Adewale, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, a second term for Sanwo-Olu, your reaction?
Well, it's another opportunity for him to continue the programs that he met, and of course to complete the one that he has started, and to deepen the dividend of democracy in Lagos State, and to continue to carry the torch of the party for the benefit of the Lagos people.
Well, we understand that the youth actually contributed. There should be about 10 million youths in Lagos State, and that's about 50% of the population in Lagos State. How much support would you say that the governor should expect based on his aspirations? You remember during the EndSARS protest, it was pretty clear that the youth were anything but they were far from happy with how he addressed that situation. So does he have expectations that he will receive that support from the youth this time around?
Well, first and foremost, my condolences to those who lost loved ones during that episode. It's a very sad event in our political history. But going forward, the numbers of those protesters, with due respect, does not reflect the totality whims and caprices of all youths in Lagos. As much as their agitation is very germane, that we must have police reforms, we must also reform our political activity in the country, create more opportunities for youth and all of that. We must also look at it from other angles, that there are some youths that also came out in support of Governor Sanwo-Olu and his programs. But the most important thing is, how do we meet up with all of the issues that have been put on the front burner, and how do we support the government of Lagos State to continue to reach higher in terms of meeting the needs and the demands of all Lagosians, and providing more opportunities for everybody. I think that is what we should look at. I can confidently tell you that within the context of all what have happened, that Governor Sanwo-Olu is very, very popular among the Lagos youth and Nigerian youth.
Now, we understand that the GAC gave a pass mark to Governor Sanwo-Olu for staying true to the developmental agenda of Lagos. But there are those who would argue otherwise. I mean, for instance, Okadas are back on the streets. There's massive insecurity. The roads are bad. You know, several projects ongoing at the same time, leading to very huge traffic gridlock. BRT buses are no longer safe. We're not even seeing the beautification program that the Fashola administration was, doing at that time. So a lot of people would say that it's like we're losing all the gains of the Fashola administration. So how do you reconcile that?
We've not lost the gains at all. We've not lost the gains. What you see are clamor from people that many projects be done, and the government of Lagos State, as led by Mr. Sanwo-Olu, have only responded to those clamor. He also knows that in responding to that, there will be some hiccups within the system. Having said that, you see, as long as we can't control the population of influx of people to Lagos, we are going to be having what we see. Other climes where you've seen things work perfectly well, you will see that their border control is very apt. And it only goes to show that Lagos must develop more capacity in controlling of the influx of people. And it's on record that during Mr. Fashola's administration, some people also were appealed to go back to their states in order for us to be able to work with the amount of resources that we have in our hands. But I cannot also say that we can foreclose that as long as we still have insecurity in some parts of the country. People will run down to Lagos for greener pastures and safety and all of that. So that is what we have. Recently, the governor just rolled out about 1,000 saloon vehicles to aid the transportation in Lagos. So it becomes a question of choice for people to rather take those vehicles at cheaper cost or go on the bikes. And the Lagos Task Force also have been out there to get these bikes, get the bikers, and return them back to where they have come from. So it's an Herculean task on the hands of the Lagos State government, but they are not leaving any stone unturned.
The Lagos State government definitely has its hands full with
very full.
There's a lot of issues on ground. The most recent, and I guess the one that's catching the most news cycle right now, is the issue with education and a lot of situations with school children and incidents, whether it's involving sex or actual death. Our children are in a precarious situation. They are the future, obviously, but it seems like there is something definitely going on with the Lagos State school system, whether private or public. Is this something that the governor is looking into, knowing that this is an election year and these incidents are coming out back to back? It might affect.
Well, it's not the problem of government particularly, totally.
No, of course not.
I have children too. I have children, and recently I went for a Zoom meeting with their teachers and all. And the parent has a lot to do in bringing up the child. Yes, the government, in terms of teachers that they've made provision for in public schools, are locus in parentis. But again, they spend little hours in trying to inculcate values into these children. So parents have a lot to do in bringing up their wards. And we must also look at it that family fabric is being broken more, and the government will not come into your homes on how to impact positive morals on your kids. So you have to give more time to your children. I come from a family, I have my parents too. If they have not taught me very well, perhaps I will end up on the road and claim that the government have not made provisions for me. But my parents have spent adequate time in making sure that I am brought up in the way of the Lord, and I'm brought up in family values and all of that.
I just want to interrupt you there. Sorry, just interrupt you there. I'm not even speaking to the morality of situations, because clearly parents can't be everywhere. And this is a very touchy issue, especially with what has come out from Chrisland schools. What I'm speaking about is taking responsibility for what the government can take responsibility for.
Like what?
And that is regulations within schools. There has to be some kind of standard for when things occur, how they're addressed. A lot of problems occur. I mean, we're human beings. There will always be problems. But how are they resolved? The issue now is that the resolution to any of the situations, starting from Doan College, going back, there's been no it just keeps cascading, and then a new incident comes out, and then we're all outraged. So that's the part the government can help with.
You must appreciate that the wheel of justice grinds very slowly.
Too slow.
Very slowly. And when you compare the amount of justices that we have in Nigeria, especially in Lagos State, to the population of people, to the demand, to the issues that are brought before them, I think we need to also increase the numbers of our judicial workers in order to meet with what you're talking about. But in terms of response, the Lagos State government have always responded, even to the issue of the Doan College. They did respond. And when there was some harakiri from a particular agency of government, the government of Lagos State moved very swiftly to demand that issue be looked into once again. But you must understand that these systems have processes. The fact that he's the governor of the state does not mean that he can overstep his bounds. The processes must be followed, and if not duly followed, people can raise up the red flag, get the attention of the government, and he sent back everybody to do the right thing.
I appreciate your angle on that, and why I think it's very important that you ask that question, you know, talking about morality, talking about the school system, who needs to take up accountability. What about when it comes to enforcement of child's rights? Because in truth, it's more nominal than literal. It's written there that Lagos state law says that children have the right to life, survival, and balanced development. But truth be told, you might have come from a household where things were safe. you have cases where people are told to, you know, hush when things happen to them. What platforms are being put in place to make sure that there's actually support for children who are going through situations like abuse and whatnot? Is this a priority for Governor Sanwo-Olu in the this next term for which he aspires to? Because children are the future, and it should be a priority. It's a
very big priority. I come from a background of civil society. I'd worked with Chief Anthony Enauro, blessed memories, Professor Wole Soyinka, Dr. Becker and Kuti as secretary, and all of that. So I know this thing very frankly well. The Lagos State government, through the Ministry of Youth and Ministry of Women Affairs, do work with NGOs and CBOs to make sure that child rights, women rights, and all rights are well protected. There's no issue that have been brought to the attention of the governor and the government of Lagos State that they've not responded to. If there's any, kindly raise up one and let's talk about it.
Okay, so just before I let you go, I'd like us to move to the national level. It seems the fight for the presidential ticket within the APC is getting very dirty, with mudslinging and name-calling between supporters of two prominent candidates, and you know who they are. So is this an indication of what we should expect in 2023? Is it going to be a do-or-die election?
Well, it will not be too good for us to say that the contending parties they are following, the one creating those problems. You must be able to prove that their followers are the one doing it, especially in this era of social media where you have fake news being thrown everywhere. So we can make sure that platform of yours keep bringing this issue to the front burner, do forensic investigation to pin down those who are doing these things, and we bring them to the table of justice.
Well, just before I let you go, I'd like to let you know that some of those name callings and mudslinging have been done right here on our platform. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.
Thank you for having me.